Our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Charles Banda, Minister of Tourism and Arts, Your Grace Bishop Dr. H.K. Joshua Banda, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, representatives of the international organizations, members of the Rwandan community, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. First, allow me to express my sincere gratitude to you all for being here this afternoon, for kwibuka ku nshuro ya 25 a Kinyarwanda phrase which translates to the 25th remembrance of the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. A warm welcome to our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Charles Banda, MP, Minister of Tourism and Arts, for joining us today despite your very busy schedule. My thanks to the many friends of Rwanda and their excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps here present. Thank you all for being with us as we remember and grieve for over 1 million of our departed comrades. A people whose only crime against a sitting government of the time was how they were created by the Almighty. Guest of honor, excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today marks 25 years since commencement of the darkest chapter in the Rwandan history, the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. The theme of this year's commemoration is Remember, Unite, Renew. Indeed, ours is a journey that is not only testimony of the resilience of the human spirit, but also proof of the danger of bad governance, as well as the power of good governance. It is evidence for the worth of humanity and based out of a united people with a determination to learn from the past and build a sustainable future. As Rwandans and friends, we on this day of remembrance pay tribute to the victims as well as reflect on the transformational journey that Rwanda has walked in the last 25 years. As we do commemorate, we must continue standing side by side with the genocide survivors, most of whom are still struggling to come to terms with the painful consequences of this dreadful past. As we remember this man-made calamity, it is imperative that genocide-related impunity is earnestly fought to its ultimate defeat. It is bad governance and related impunity that acted both as an enabler and a catalyst for the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. It is same impunity that is currently nourishing the last phase of genocide, which is revisionism and denialist propaganda. Indeed, as we share Rwanda's tragic history, the extent of risk of bad governance to the human race is a huge lesson to all of us, and especially our future leaders, the youth. Pre-colonial Rwanda was a nation state, and as the case today has a homogeneous culture with one language. With the coming of the colonial masters, however, their divide and rule policy changed dynamics of social relations in Rwanda. what originally were social classes were, by implementing the divide and rule policy, turned into ethnic identities. The colonialists issued ethnic-based national identity cards to all Rwandans in 1933. It is these IDs that were later used to identify and target Tutsi for cycling politically motivated killings. Guest of honor, excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Early ethnic-based killings led to the first mass movement of Tutsi as refugees into the immediate neighboring countries in 1955. Other subsequent killings by the post-independence republics continued through the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and the 1994 genocide against Tutsi was only a climax. This was a genocide planned and executed by Rwandan leaders of the time and against a part of their own population and merely for how they were created. A genocide renowned for its first execution in the history of genocide, with over 1 million innocent lives, necessarily butchered by their own government within a mere 100 days. That is, on average, 10,000 deaths per day. Factors that led to the fatal effectiveness of this genocide include: 1. Planning and execution by pre-1994 government. 2. Well-resourced mobilization of a part of the population against Tutsi. 3. Use of public media in dehumanizing campaign against Tutsi. For example, they were called snakes, autism. 4. Glorification and impunity resulting from previous mass crimes against Tutsi. And 5. The inaction of the international community. Indeed, the international community, including the UN, failed in its mission of preventing the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. This is despite all the warning, including by the commander of the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda, MINUA, General Romeo Dallaire, a force that was deployed in Rwanda at the time and which ran for their life, when genocide began on 7th April 1994. The genocide began when the UN mission was present in Rwanda. Genocide perpetrators and their accomplices continue to carry out activities related to genocide, denial, and revisionism. This is a strategy meant to distort facts of the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. This attempt to rewrite the history of the genocide not only harms the survivors and their families, but also has a very negative effect on the healing process. There is need to deny these culprits the platform for executing this last phase of the genocide, that is, revisionism and denial. Guest of honor, excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, genocide is a crime against humanity that has no borders and is not time-bound. Justice must be seen to be done if we are to sustainably honor the creed of never again. Some genocide perpetrators still live freely, both on the continent and in the West. We call on all countries either bring these genocide suspects before their own national jurisdiction, or even better, extradite them to Rwanda, where the crime was committed, to face trial. In support of the preservation of the memory and for ensuring sustainable reflection of the unimaginable toll of genocide of humanity, through resolution A/RES/58/234, which was modified on 26 January 2018 by resolution 58/243, the UN designated 7th April as International Day of Reflection on the Genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. We thank all friendly countries, including on the African continent, that supported passing of this resolution. Relatedly, through UN Security Council Resolution 2015 of 16th April 2014, UN member countries are required to commit to preventing and fighting against genocide and other serious crimes. This resolution underscores the importance of taking into account lessons learned from the 1994 genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, during which Hutu and others who opposed the genocide were also killed. We appreciate countries, especially in the West, that have lately increased on pace of either apprehending and trying the genocide suspects in their own courts or extraditing them to Rwanda for trial. Relatedly, and in our immediate region, I wish to thank the Republic of Malawi, a country in our High Commission jurisdiction, for extraditing genocide convict Vincent Murekezi to Rwanda in January this year. I also wish to commend and thank our host country, Zambia, and the Republican President, His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa, who, during his state visit to Rwanda in February 2018, unequivocally pledged his government's commitment to bring to book any perpetrators of the 1994 genocide against Tutsis that may be in Zambia. This followed area signing of an extradition treaty between both countries in June 2017. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we thank the Rwandan Patriotic Front for the heroism with which they, against many odds, moved quickly to against many odds liberate the country and stop the genocide against Tutsi by 4th July 1994. We thank them for the unity of purpose they have been able to build and for every turning around Rwanda's fortunes. 25 years later, after the genocide, Rwanda is a respected country among the family of nations. It is indeed thanks to the human spirit and the resilience of Rwandans that Rwanda is what it is today, after surviving what was otherwise destined to be a failed state status following a well-planned and executed genocide. A country with a people that are unified by purpose and a common desire for success. A country that is secure within her borders, respected among the global family of nations, and at peace with itself and other nations. A country that has risen from ground zero in the immediate aftermath of the genocide to a sustainable growing economy that has thus grown at an average of 7 to 8% in the last 15 years. This year, the economy is slated to grow by 7.8%. The excellent macroeconomic policies buttressed by good governance and the many homegrown solutions, as well as pro-poor policies, have helped give hope to Rwandan citizenry where it completely lacked in 1994. Unity and reconciliation has taken root. Millions lifted from poverty. 90% Rwandans now enjoy medical insurance coverage. Women emancipation made a reality, and life expectancy risen to 67 years, among very many impressive statistics and milestones. Indeed, for Rwandans that have walked the distance from 1994 to date, and well knowing the extreme low base that Rwanda emerged from to the current impressive milestones across all sectors, it is indeed a miracle country. From a divided nation in 1994 to a united, peaceful, well-governed and socio-economically transformed country today. To use the words of His Excellency President Paul Kagame in his address to Rwandans in last year's commemoration, I quote, "Commemoration is about us continuing to work together and united as Rwandans. It is about fighting against wrong elements to avoid the repeat of what happened in 1994. And it is also about developing ourselves and developing our country." End of quote. Remembering, educating, and preserving the memory of the genocide is key to Rwanda's development. Remembering to mitigate against genocide, fight impunity, and guard against extremist ideologies. And with regard to Rwanda's reserve, the country is a living testimony of how hard work, unity of purpose, and a determined leadership has helped rejuvenate fortunes of a nation. From this terrible tragedy, Rwanda has become a nation of hope, prosperity, and equal opportunity for her people. Today, Rwanda is ranked among the fastest growing economies globally and among the most stable and secure countries in Africa. In conclusion, I wish to note that commemoration isn't just for Rwanda and Rwandans, but it's for the entire human race. Commemoration helps us not forget the tough lessons that history has taught us. It reminds us of the real consequences of bad governance that, in the strange case of Rwanda, involved a government that intensely planned, resourced, and executed a mission to exterminate a part of their own populace. We, however, also practically learn and see evidence of the hope and opportunity that come with good governance, a dedicated leadership, and the resilience of a people. I thank you for your kind attention.